Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We looked a little bewildered up here this morning. We have an IT problem and our iPads are not working, which is, I guess, our Bible for our meeting, but we're going to go ahead and start anyway and see if we can get them up in just a few minutes. If we look a little bit unorganized, that would be the reason why, because we do depend on it quite a bit. But at this time, I'd like to call the County Commissioners meeting together or in order, and it will be for November the 4th for the Nash County Board of Commissioners, and it's customary for us to begin our meetings with a prayer by a commissioner. And during that time, you're welcome to stand and join us in that prayer. You're welcome to use this time for your own prayer, or you're welcome to use it for a moment of silence or whatever your preference may be. We also are proud to do a pledge of allegiance to the flag immediately after the prayer, which Mr. Outlaw will lead us in, and I'll ask Dan Cone to lead us in the invocation at this time. Thank you.
Let us pray. Father God, we love you. We appreciate you, Lord, and we ask that you forgive us when we take you so much for granted, Lord, for the things you provide for us each and every day, Lord, and sustaining our life and our health. Lord, we just pray for this opportunity we have this morning to meet together, Lord, to discuss the business of Nash County. Lord, we just pray that everything we do here would be for the benefit of all the citizens of Nash County, that it would be for the betterment of our fellow man. Lord, we just pray that you would be with this nation and this country, Lord, as we live in a free country, Lord, that we can appreciate. And so many days we don't act like we do appreciate the opportunities we have here, Lord. But forgive us when we fail you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
You join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're now on item 4 on the agenda, which is approval of the minutes. We only had one set from our October 1st of the month meeting on October the 7th. I'm hoping we reviewed that prior to coming in here this morning. If I'd entertain a motion for any corrections or additions or a motion to approve the minutes at this time.
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner Wells, a second by Commissioner Outlaw. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Minutes stand approved. Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, item 5 is an item we have on our agenda each first of the month meeting, and it was up for public comment, which gives any member of the audience an opportunity to speak to the board about any item that they wish to speak to us about. We asked that if it's on the agenda later that you would wait to speak at that time. I did not have any sign-ups, which we do ask you to sign up out front up to the time the meeting begins. No one signed up, but if you overlooked that and are here today, the board would certainly be glad to hear from you. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak to the board on an item that is not on the agenda today? Seeing no one, we'll close item number 5 and we'll move on to item number 6, which is a text amendment. And I would call on Adam Tyson to present that at this time. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. This is the only planning item on your agenda this morning. It is a text amendment, as the chairman said. It involves the land use sporting goods store bicycle shop. That's a commercial land use that includes a broad category of things, including the retail sale of sporting goods, hunting equipment, bicycles, bicycle parts, bicycle accessories, firearms, ammunition, bait, and fishing tackle. The current UDO currently only permits the development of this retail land use in the GC, General Commercial Zoning District. Of course, we have 2 commercial zoning districts, the GC, General Commercial, and the RC, Rural Commercial. There are more land uses permitted in the General Commercial than in the Rural Commercial. This morning, Mr. Paul Ingram is the applicant for this text amendment, and he is asking to amend the ordinance in order to add sporting goods store bicycle shop as a retail commercial land use to be permitted for development by right in the RC Rural Commercial Zoning District, in addition to the one that the general commercial where it's already permitted. Mr. Ingram is interested in opening such an establishment in an existing commercial building on the east side of Highway 43, just north of Red Oak and south of Browntown Road. This is in Commissioner Richardson's district, and I believe she's familiar with the particular building. However, because this is a text amendment, it will make this change if it is approved for all rural commercial zoning districts. The rural commercial zoning district is primarily intended to accommodate limited retail, office, service, and medium-density residential uses, and is typically located in the intersection area of rural roads and intended to provide moderate-intensity shopping and services. I'll refer to the table of permitted uses, which you have on the board there on your screens. It shows all the land uses that are permitted in both the RC and the GC. You'll note that obviously there are more land uses in the far right-hand column, the GC. On the second side of the screen, the highlighted line in blue is sporting goods store, bicycle shop. And so currently that yellow box would be empty because it is not permitted in the RC. And the change the applicant's asking to make is to add that P so that it is permitted with a zoning permit in the RC zoning district. A couple of other land uses that are somewhat similar to a sporting goods store and bicycle shop that per this table are already allowed in the RC zoning district are auto supply sales, building supply sales, farm supplies and equipment, hardware store, pawn shop, other miscellaneous retail sales. And I'll tell you that what was a realization for both the Technical Review Committee and the Planning Board was the fact that a pawn shop is already permitted in this zone. So all the merchandise that would be sold in the permitted use we're discussing, a sporting goods store, bicycle shop, could already be sold in this zone, but it would have to be secondhand as a pawn shop. And so with that knowledge, it did not seem like much of a leap to either the TRC or the Planning Board to allow this particular land use in this RC zone. Of course, when we amend the ordinance, we always look at the land development plan for consistency. The plan recommends that rural commercial areas include limited small-scale businesses and commercial services that, one, are appropriate for crossroads development in predominantly rural and agricultural areas. Two, are intended to primarily serve a local customer base of surrounding residents rather than attempting to attract customers from a larger regional area. And three, uses that may be accommodated by private on-site septic systems rather than requiring public sewer service. The TRC considered this amendment on October 3rd and recommended approval based on its determination that the proposed amendment is reasonable, in the public interest, and consistent with the land development plan. The Planning Board considered the text amendment on October 21. There were no members of the public other than the applicant present to address the board. The board voted unanimously to recommend consistency statement A, which is included in your packet, finding again the request to be reasonable in the public interest and consistent with the land development plan, and two, approval of the actual text amendment to add sporting goods store, bicycle shop as a permitted use in the RC zoning district. This is a two-motion process. First, you'll need to adopt a consistency statement, one for either approval or one for denial, and then a second motion to actually approve or deny the text amendment. Mr. Ingram, the applicant, is present with us here this morning, and I'm sure during the public hearing portion, he can tell you a little more about his business plans or answer any questions that you have. And before we move on to that, I'll be glad to take any questions that you have for me.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
In this property, the area that we're talking about is in the municipal extraterritorial
No, it's in the county's zoning jurisdiction.
county. It's not in Dorchester, not Rocky Mountain. Okay,
It's north of Red Oak, but it's in the county zoning jurisdiction.
okay. Red Oak, okay. I had it between, as you were describing it, I was looking between Rocky Mountain and Dorchester.
Right.
And I knew those two limits join
Overlap,
each
right.
other. So that's why I'm asking. It's between Red Oak and Dorchester. Okay, I got you.
Between
No, it's not.
Red Oak and Halifax County.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
On the other
Okay,
side.
Red Oak and Halifax, off of 43.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Other questions, Mr. Bellfield?
I got it.
Other questions, Sue?
I've got a question. If this is going in a commercial-type building, I was just wondering why the owner of the building hadn't already gotten the property rezoned to general commercial.
A A rezoning to general commercial would probably be more difficult because general commercial is intended for areas that look a little more suburban than the rural area where this is located. And there is no water and sewer available in this area, I think. So rural commercial is probably the correct zoning, but we just need to talk around the margins of, is this a land use that would be one of those that's okay in both?
Other comments, questions? Mr. Tyson, the only thing I would say, in looking at this earlier, when you look at the list of permitted uses in general commercial and rural commercial, I see several things that I think we may want to look at as we are going through our review of this
Right.
document, particularly due to the fact that we now have an economic developer that's working in the rural areas as well as the smaller towns. Simple things like appliances, musical instruments, fabric, furniture, there's right many things that I think we may want to consider all at one time, possibly adding this to it. And I certainly understand the difference between the general commercial and the rural commercial, as you just explained. That's the only comment I'd add. Anything else, board members? If not, thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I'm going to call for a public hearing to go into this matter. If there's someone in the audience that wishes to speak for or against it, we'd certainly like to hear from you. So at this time, I'd entertain a motion to go into a public hearing.
Move we go into public hearing.
Moved by Mr. Belfield,
Second.
second by Ms. Richardson. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a public hearing at this point in time, and if you wish to speak for or against this text amendment, we'd certainly like to hear from you at this time. We'd ask you to come up and give your name and your address. Anyone wish to speak on this item, particularly the applicant, if he's here? Just state your name and address, Mr. Ingram.
My name's Paul Ingram. I officially live in Raleigh, 5449 Thunder Ridge Drive. I'm the one that put in the text amendment. I'm looking to put in a small little hunting and fishing store to cater to the area. I heard it was a need. I want to do hunting license for the people, fishing license for the people, things of that nature. Pretty basic, nothing very huge. If any of y'all are familiar with Kinston, there's a place called New Sporting Goods. That's kind of what I'm going after without the shooting range on the inside, just something kind of small for people who hunt or, shoot like myself, and that's pretty much the main thing. I do pest control. I inspected the house of the owner of the property back in April, and that's how I found out about the property, and I inspected the property. I think the property is a great property for the area, and I see, tremendous growth in this area as we go forward. So I'm a little nervous. I've learned a lot through this process, so I appreciate all y'all through this, so I guess thank you.
I hope you found us very friendly as you worked through it.
Yes, sir, I did.
Great.
I definitely did.
Okay. Any questions from commissioners of the applicant? I appreciate you being here. I have two grandsons that I have to go to Kinston with numerous times in a year as the ball season changes. So anything you do would certainly save us a little fuel. I appreciate you being here. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir, thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to
Excuse
say to Mr. Ingram too, and to the board, I have visited the site, it's not too far from me, you're my neighbor. So as a lot of people, when you say guns and ammunition, red flag go up, so a little concerned, but I visited, I know the place well, and to look at it, you just go down the road to Rocky Mount or any municipality, you can purchase all those things already, so, and one good insight I saw in it, Mr. Chairman, is there's a bail bondsman right next door to you, so watch it. So, I mean, we are trying to work with our community to help it to grow and prospects of whoever comes in and want to help us to have businesses and expand and grow and just make sure, we just try to make sure it's done right and protect our communities and help it to grow.
Definitely, I
Thank you.
understand that. Yes, ma'am.
I think that's the first mile threat we've ever had in a public hearing, Ms. Richardson.
Good. Yeah, well, I was real comfortable when I found out he was my neighbor, but then I saw the bail bondsman, and I talked to him, he's my neighbor, so I'm good.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else wish to speak for or against this item? Seeing no one moving, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
So moved.
Close the public hearing.
I have a motion by Commissioner Combs, second by Commissioner Bellfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Did you need to add anything else, Mr. Tyson?
The only thing I would add is, I think I might have mistakenly implied that those are all the land uses you can do in a general commercial or rural commercial. Those are just the retail land uses. Of
correct.
course, there's a service category also that
Right.
would have others.
Gotcha, okay. If there's no more discussion, I'd entertain a motion on a consistency statement with the items that are listed under the consistency statement, either A or B at this time.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a motion that we accept statement A.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Richardson, second by Commissioner Bellfield. I'm trying to do this with paper copies
Yeah.
instead of the iPad. It is A and B, Mr. Tyson?
Correct.
Okay. All right, any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? That motion carries. And then I need a motion to approve or deny the text amendment.
Motion to approve?
Have a motion by Sue, or a
Second.
second by Ms. Richardson. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries, and we look forward to having your store open, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, would you like to use my iPad and
I'm-
take a
I'm-
hard copy?
I'm good.
Okay.
I think I'll be all right.
I think she just reloaded it.
All right, next item is item number 7. It's a very joyous item and a very sad item in extent, but I would call on Scott at this time to come forward and make this presentation, as well as anyone else he wishes to bring with him, and certainly the two gentlemen that are the highlight of agenda item number 7. Good morning.
Good morning. And, appreciate you giving us the opportunity to come talk to you about this, I'm going to call it an event.
Event is great.
It may have taken some time to get here, but all of you probably know, I'm sure know Ricky Turner and Cleveland Hunt here. And I know I've known them as long as I've about known anything. So it's my great pleasure to bring them before you in recognition of over 50 years of continuous EMS service in Nash County. And of that time, the majority of that time are being full-time employed providers. There's a recent study at this past year that come out of South Carolina saying that a full-time EMS provider only makes it 8 years before they have to go do something else, and there's a long reasons for those. So when you bring up the idea that somebody's done this level of work for 50 years, they're supermen as far as we're all concerned. You know, the ability to do this kind of work, the stresses that are involved, the physical requirements that are involved, and sustain it over this period of time, and they both still be standing is an amazing feat.
Easy now.
So, and, you know, over the last 50 years, they've witnessed the evolution of healthcare in the community. They've definitely comforted and saved countless of citizens in Nash County. They've impacted all the EMS providers you see in the audience here in their careers, including myself. And to the county, they bring in an enormous amount of knowledge and wisdom and experience to Nash County EMS. And having served with Nash County EMS full-time since 2006, you know, their impact on our service has been dramatic. Having, you know, this type of experience and wisdom in our ranks to continue to influence our younger staff and our new employees that have coming in has been something that I don't think that we can really properly measure or state. So, you know, in appreciation for what they've done, the years that they've served the county, I just wanted to take the opportunity to bring them before the board officially and thank them for all their years of service and give the county the opportunity to express their appreciation for what, and for what I don't think how we really can appreciate. Yeah, I don't think we really can express the level of appreciation that should be there. So anyway, I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to say anything you want, if that's okay, Mr. Chairman. We'll,
It's your agenda item, sir.
yep.
Just over the years, I want to thank the commissioners in supporting the EMS and Fire Rescue Division, because every year, like I said, without support, there's no way we can get the equipment, computers, the heart monitors, and the stuff we need to support the community. And like my director, Scott Strebe, says, when we go out to try to save and protect life, you know. And like I said, if I look back 20 years ago or 30 years ago and say, if I had the equipment and the knowledge I got now, I could make a difference in people's lives. But thank y'all for supporting the EMS division, the fire division, and law enforcement, because like I said, we work as a team in Nash County. Number one thing in Nash County is life. Number two is property. And thank God that we have support from the commissioner to give us that equipment and the knowledge. And the other week at my ceremony at EMSA, Mr. Outlaw, you were not there because you had a, but I praise Nash Community College because like I said, without them, they train a lot of our paramedics, not just for Nash County, but we have paramedic students come from Wake County, Franklin County, and Lenore County, come to Nash Community College to take our EMT, EMTI, and our paramedic program. So Nash Community College has really helped this county a lot, and thank you for their support.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Mr. Turner?
I'd like to thank you all for the years, and I know most of you here this morning, and I've been on the bottom, and I've been on the top. I've been here in front of you asking for more money, for more equipment, for our people, and it came about through the years. And it's been a joy, actually, a joy. My wife wouldn't say that because I was not at home a whole lot, but she was a joy to see me come home. And she told me this morning that she loved me a whole lot every day, more and more. And she would be more in love with me come December 31st because I won't be here any longer. I'll be retiring. And so she thinks she's going to take a trip, but I got another trip for her. But through the years, it has been fun, and we've seen lots of people come and go for various reasons, as Scott said, that the career is 8 years, basically. And a lot of jobs nowadays, the career is 2 years. Just general public, 2-year job. That's a shame for this society today, isn't it? But maybe they'll get it right one day. I got it right. I stuck with it. That's what you have to do. Stick with it, love it, and carry on. Thank you.
I somewhat feel we got this a little bit reversed, Scott. That they're standing up there thanking us, and
Amen.
we need to be thanking them. 50 years is a long time to be doing anything. Cleve, what year did we hire you at the City of Rocky Mount?
I started in 1973.
73, which tells me I need to be at home also, but instead of working full-time right on. But Cleve came to work with us in the engineering department and then was in charge of our sign crew at that point in time, and did an excellent job at that, as he does anything. But the board greatly appreciate, I particularly appreciate the time when we merged the two systems, you two gentlemen with Stony Creek, and it wasn't easy. Three of us sat and talked about it numerous times. Y'all weren't real happy at that point in time, but I felt like, and y'all were very kind and worked with us very well, and we all felt like at the county it would turn out best for you, and I hope today you feel like it has. You got should have a pretty good retirement system by spending years with us. But during that period of time, I'd certainly like to thank you for the cooperation that you've shown to the county, even in a somewhat difficult decision. But anytime, I always, Kitty Cleve, the only thing about Cleve that bothered me is the period of time he has worked for EMS and worked for a local funeral home. But just something about that just always bothered me a little bit. He assured me
He's protecting his future.
he protected his future. He told me he was not doing that, and I fully believe him. I do recall, Cleve, a time probably 5 or 6 years ago when I got a call from my wife about her mother falling out at Smith's Red and White, and very concerned about it. And I asked, well, is EMS there? She said they are, but they want to care somewhere else. Can't remember where it was, awake or deep, because of something to do with her eye. And I said, well, who is there? She said, Cleve Hunt. I said, well, whatever Cleve wants to do, just do it. I'll be there in a few minutes, but they're gonna need to leave before I get there, but you go ahead and let him take charge. She'll be in great hands. Ricky, I know during that period of time, you and I talked many times, and I certainly appreciate, again, the cooperation that you showed in merging in with this system, and I hope it's been a successful venture for you. You've done a great job at what you do. But on behalf of the board, I'd like to just see us stand and applaud these two gentlemen for the time that they have served Nash County. Any other commissioner wishes to say anything, feel free to. Mr. Belfield, I somehow thought you would, sir.
I'd like to make.
Well, I remember, well, first let me say this. When I read it on my iPad, the first thing I said, well, maybe this is 50 years between the two of them. And then I said, well, let me go back and read in the first sentence, answered my question, 50 years each. But I remember both of them when I was working with Nash Cooperative Extension Service doing the 4-H fire prevention program. That both of them worked very cooperative with me in promoting fire prevention among the young people. And I'm pretty sure that they got some young firemen out of that group too, which was a help to them. They were glad to do it.
Right.
And they hated to see it stop when I retired. And they asked me, said, can't you influence the Cooperative Extension Service to keep this program going? Well, I talked to them about it, but they went in another direction. But hey, Fire Prevention Week, that's all they did, Fire Prevention Week. But we did 4 weeks of fire prevention. And I just enjoyed working with them. They enjoyed working with me. So we had a pretty good, happy relationship, and I want to commend you to stay in it for 50 years and on shifts, changing shifts, and that's got to be stress on you. And survive 50 years, and look, both of you look like you're still in good health. So enjoy your retirement.
Mr. Allo?
I just want to say that I grew up right down the road from the Stony Creek Fire and Rescue Department. So I've been knowing these men pretty much all my life and their families. And I value that friendship that we've had. I value what you have done for Nash County. I'm amazed that you've been able to stay at it for as long as you have, but you've done a great job. And most important to me, though, is I value your friendship, and I wish you well going forward. God bless you.
Amen. Ms. Leggett?
Hey, great to see y'all this morning. I don't feel like I have enough words this morning to be able to tell y'all thank you for your service, for your passion, for your dedication. And both of you speaking this morning, your passion is very clear when you talk about your life's work. And just want to say thank you again for being an inspiration and a role model to the rest of the county.
Ms. Wells?
I just kind of want to echo what they have all said. Been knowing Cleveland ever since he was a little baby, so we won't go back that far, Cleveland. But I just want to know that it's so peaceful to know when you lay down at night, or if you see something happen, a telephone call will get you the service you need. And I want you to know that Nash County is recognized all across North Carolina for that. And thank all of you and all of the department for all the work you do.
All right.
I'd just like to say thank you again. You know, as everybody else has said, I always look up to and respect men in EMS and fire prevention, and I just appreciate y'all, and I appreciate the influence you've had on other people that come behind you. And I know you'll always be remembered as the men you are in Nash County and what you've done for EMS, and I appreciate it.
Yes, good morning and congratulations to the both of you. We thank you so much for what you have done and what you're still doing, because you're setting a good example for the ones that's coming behind you. And to Mr. Turner, I picked up on, I certainly appreciate you mentioning your wife, because we always look at, normally, because way back, it was only men in these positions doing this, but now we have females coming on. But when we always appreciate them and talk about them, good. But we sometimes forget to mention the home life, the wife. And to me, that's your major support system right there, is your wife, but supporting you doing what you're doing to protect the people that you love and care for. We certainly appreciate that. Thank you so much.
In closing, I'll just challenge both of you. 50 years is a very long time, but based on an event last week, you could service about 10 more years if you really want to go out on top with the fire chief over in Sharpsburg, who worked 60 years, I understand. So, but 50 is greatly appreciated. I'm only kidding with you about that, but it just shows the type of people we have in Nash County. To have all here in about a week's time, gentlemen retiring with 60 years of service, and 2 gentlemen this morning with 50 years of service. But thank you again.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
All right, we're now on item number 8, which is the Elm Street Drainage Project. And I'd call on Patsy McGee to make this presentation for us, and I believe she has someone with her from McDavid Company.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, with me today is Mike Barnett of McDavid Associates, and also here is Randy Lansing, the Nashville Town Manager, and who both have obviously an interest in this project as well. In your packet, you would have a subrecipient agreement that we received from the NC Office of Recovery and Resiliency, dated July 1st for the 2017 Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Infrastructure Funds related to Hurricane Matthew. The scope of this work is the Elm Street Drainage Project. You see here, the project begins across from Richardson's Funeral Home and meanders through our parking lot and the right-of-way of Elm Street and back to another parking lot behind the jail and down to Stony Creek. The federal funds for this project total $455,114 and complement a previously awarded $500,000 Golden Leaf Disaster Recovery Grant. So there are no local funds in this project. The subrecipient agreement includes the state now administering the housing component of the program. So as a result of these changes, we need to amend our budget to remove the housing program allocation and increase the drainage improvements allocation. So you should have a project budget ordinance amendment prepared by the Finance Director, Donna Wood, also in your packet. to accomplish those two things. In addition, you should have an interlocal agreement between Nash County and the town of Nashville in your packet. Nash County holds both the CDBG DR funds, which were only provided to counties upon application, and the Golden Leaf funding for the project. And following construction, the town of Nashville will operate and maintain the Elm Street drainage project improvements. And so to formalize that arrangement, the county attorney has prepared an interlocal agreement, which the town has reviewed as well, for consideration by us today and then by the town on Wednesday at their meeting. We also have in your agenda packet a program management agreement. Nash County procured program management services and selected McDavid Associates to provide those services. The project is finally now defined, and the county has finally received the subrecipient agreement. And so we can enter into an agreement with McDavid Associates, which is the firm we have been working with on this project for over 2 years now already. And we can formalize that with the approval of the program management agreement. Also included in your packet is a recommendation regarding the engineering for this project. Following advertisement of a request for qualifications for design of the Elm Street storm drainage project, we received 3 proposals from engineering firms. And following review, the project manager, McDavid, has recommended that Stocks Engineering is best suited to meet the county's need for this project. So it will negotiate with the county compensation from Stocks Engineering and prepare an agreement for the county manager's approval and execution. So today, we're asking you to do a number of things. We're trying to get this project, since we have the interlocal agreement, we're finally trying to get it moving and keep it on schedule. So we're asking you to approve the interlocal agreement with the town, approve the grant project budget ordinance amendment, authorize the county manager to execute the program management agreement, and authorize the county manager to contract with Stocks Engineering for engineering services. And I'm sure Mike would be happy to entertain any questions, as well as myself, for the town.
Questions? I have.
Yes,
You can go ahead, Mr. Bill.
just a comment, more so than a question, because I know it's one thing that they require, but it's a program manager. And not just this project, a lot of projects that have come before us. I just feel like the county could manage those, and the amount of money you're paying for a program manager could go into the project and maybe reach and do a little bit more than what you can do with the designated funds. But that seemed to be the way it is, that's one of the requirements when you get these funds, to have an engineer, program manager in order to handle it. But it's just something that I don't agree with.
Well, Phil, if I could, in this particular case, what we have here is a CBG grant that has many facets in it. That's a larger amount, maybe $1 million total. Almost, and it falls under that program, which we've always used because of the housing aspect of it. Takes so much diligence to keep it going. If this were a standalone project, we wouldn't be doing it like this. That's the difference. And I fully understand and agree.
I know what I read is connected with the housing.
It is, and that's why it falls under.
Even with that, I just don't agree with those projects.
Okay, well.
It's money that could expand the project.
Right, I do not disagree with you, but I wanted the board to understand that.
And I know you want it done right, and you need,
Sure.
and you need people with knowledge to
Right.
see to it it's done right. I'm not against that, but I just believe that we could manage those projects a lot cheaper than doing it the way We
Right.
have to do it because that's what it requires, federal government, state, and all require.
Or
When you get-
sometimes
when you-
they
When you
do.
get these grants, they
Yes,
require.
sir. Yep, I got you. Other questions from board members? Only question I'd have for Mike probably is, do we have that fee negotiated yet, or are you asking us, Patsy, to turn the manager loose to sign it prior to knowing what the fee is?
With the engineering procurement.
Yes, sir.
Typically, the process would be to go through procurement, do the evaluation, then after the evaluation,
Right.
you would establish who is best suited to fit your needs.
Sure, I've got all
Then-
that.
And the next step would be to negotiate a reasonable fee.
Okay, which we have not done
We
yet.
have not done yet, but,
Okay.
and then that would go through the manager's approval.
Only thing, no respect or disrespect for you, Mr. Lamb, but I think the board would probably want to know that fee, at least as a courtesy from you prior to signing off on the document, us finding it out later. If we could do it in that manner, would not be advantageous for all of us, I think, as well as the manager.
So
But
run
don't
it-
let me get you out of sync as far as what you're trying to do, because we have been talking about this project a very long time.
So we don't need to bring it back to the board, just communicate with the board what the proposed fee is and get,
I would be fine doing it. Is anyone else
And
have
then
a
the
problem with
manager.
doing it that way so we don't hold up a step? Mr. Outlaw, you okay with that?
I think whatever they negotiate with the manager is probably going to be acceptable.
Right. Well, we'll just ask that the manager talk to us about it then, because we always, as Mr. Belfield said, very conscious of what fees we pay for any service like this. And you said you had how many engineers put in?
Three.
Three, okay, okay. Well, I don't know how you did the evaluation, I know how we normally do it, but we do, this board does like to use local people when we can, so I'm glad we are utilizing a local firm to do it. Any other questions? Patsy, what else we need to say? I got your list here of what to do. Do I just approve the local agreement with Nashville first, and then the other comes up under finance, or are we doing it all under this agenda?
we're doing it all together.
Altogether, okay. Do you want to do it in one motion, or do I need several motions?
I think I'd have separate motions.
Okay, all right,
We got different parties.
okay. All right, if no other questions, I'd entertain a motion first to approve the interlocal agreement, which is with the town of Nashville. And of course, I understand they'll be presented to their board a little later in the week.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Leggett. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Ms. Wells. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Ms. Wood, did you have anything to say about the budget ordinance, or do you just get it approved as stated here under the agenda item?
If we could just get it approved as stated in the agenda item.
Okay, all right, I call for a motion to approve the grant project budget audit amendment.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Belfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well. And then I'd entertain a motion to authorize the county manager to execute the program management agreement and contract with Stocks Engineering after reviewing the fee with the Board of Commissioners.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Richardson, seconded by Dad. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well. Thank you, Mike, for being here this morning. Appreciate that, appreciate your hard work on this. I know this took a twist halfway through the grant cycle and had a lot added to it, but we were tickled to get it going. And Randy, I appreciate you being here this morning and hope your board will approve it. You got an exciting day tomorrow. I'm sure you're looking forward to that and getting that part behind you as well. Everybody okay to keep moving on the agenda? All right. Item number 9, Patsy, you were already up there, so you go ahead, which is a Community Development Block Grant Neighborhood Revitalization Grant.
This is another project that we've been working with McDavid Associates on, and I appreciate their expertise in the area of community development block grants. The Nash County 2018 Community Development Block Grant Neighborhood Revitalization Project includes $750,000 in federal funds and $5,000 in local funds for street and housing improvements on or near Peel Drive, which you can see on the map is located in southern Nash County off of Winters Road. The road improvements consist of converting a dirt road with potholes to a paved road built to NCDOT standards with associated drainage improvements, and that will be turned over to NCDOT for future maintenance. Housing improvements include rehabilitation and/or replacement of approximately 8 low to moderate income single-family homes, mostly manufactured homes that are on or near Peel Drive. The county received bids for the road and drainage construction, and McDavid provided the attached, recommendation of award that's in your packet, which includes a certified bid tab. And the lowest responsible bidder was Tripp Brothers out of Ayden, North Carolina, with a bid of $258,486. And McDavid recommends awarding to this contractor. Road and drainage improvements are funded through the street improvements line item in the project budget, and the total projected expenditures for street improvements is $304,556. Since the street improvements line item is currently $74,556 needs to be moved from housing to street improvements. And housing will be modified to allow for this transfer, but still accomplish the original objectives of the program. So if you have questions, again, Mike and I would be happy to take them. And our recommended action is to authorize the transfer of the needed funds from housing to street improvements and approve the resolution awarding the construction contract to Tripp Brothers of Ayden, North Carolina, in the amount of $258,486.
Any questions from board members at this time?
You need one motion or two?
I'm going to need two. Any questions? Seeing none, at this time, anything else, Mr. McGee?
No, sir.
Okay. The first motion needs to be to approve the funds because we can't award a contract unless the funds are in place, Commissioner Combs. So first motion would be to approve or deny the transfer of $74,556 from the housing into the street improvements under the same grant.
Make a motion, we approve the transfer.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Commissioner Wells. Any questions on the motion? Only question I'd have, do we anticipate we may be able to do basically the same number of housing by doing this, Mike, or do we know yet? Probably don't know yet, do we?
What we'll do is we get started on the housing, we'll look at the treatment, there are various levels of treatment you can give the house to address the same need. So we'll
Try to find something in that process.
chip a little bit out of everywhere just
I got you.
to make it work.
Yeah, well, if we could come near the same number of houses, that would be great. Of course, you already know that, I'm sure.
We would anticipate having the same number.
Okay. All right, I have a motion and a second about the transfer of the funds. No other questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Second motion we would need would be a motion to approve or deny the resolution awarding the construction contract to Tripp Brothers Incorporated of Ayden in the amount of $258,486.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Outlaw,
Second.
second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on that motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here this morning. Good to see you again, Mike. Next item on the agenda is an ambulance remount bid award and budget amendment. Call on Scott again at this time.
All right, so based on the budget approval for this year's budget, we had 5 ambulance remounts approved, and the approved amount by the commissioners was $450,000. We finished the bid process. We had 4 different companies bid on the work, and after considering all the bids and looking at all the pricing, the best price that we can present to the commissioners for those 5 remounts was from Select Custom Apparatus out of Falkland, North Carolina, at $429,900. So it did come in below what we presented to the commissioners in the capital project presentation. And so with that, that breaks down to about $85,914 per remount. I'll take any questions that you may have as far as the equipment goes. I know Donna has more information in regards to the
Questions on
financing piece.
Equipment itself from board members? Scott, just help me understand, this is what it costs to take the body off in one vehicle and put it on a new chassis?
That is correct.
Does not include the cost of the chassis, or does include the cost?
It does include the cost of the chassis.
Okay, great.
Yes, we're buying a brand-new chassis, removing the box off the back of the old chassis, refurbishing it.
Right.
And then installing it onto the new chassis.
So does this Select, they're the people that buy that chassis then?
Yes, sir, that's part of the bid process. Yes.
Okay. We
They have access into fleet programs and bulk buying options and things that typically their chassis prices are a little cheaper than what we could find. So.
Even, that's not an item we could purchase under a state contract for vehicles?
No, sir, not directly. We would be able to use, we would qualify for a fleet program directly from the manufacturer, but we would fall in line with all the big companies that are trying to buy them also.
Okay.
So,
I just know some of the vehicles we buy under that state contract seem to be awful inexpensive to me, but I'm sure y'all have done whatever you need to do here. Other questions?
I've got a question. I've heard y'all mention something about some compliance standards that'll be coming up with your ambulances. Do these remounts meet those compliance standards? And if not, when will those come into effect?
yes, ma'am. This year, remounting ambulances does not fall subject into the new safety standards yet. The state legislature has to do some verbiage change in law or rule somewhere, to be quite honest, and before those take place. So that has not happened yet. But this is the last year that we have ambulances that are eligible to be remounted. Next year, we will be presenting the purchase of new ambulances that do fall subject to the new safety standards, which, as you can anticipate, is probably going to make things more expensive. So,
Ballpark, what will we be looking at for a new ambulance?
I'm guessing, because we'll be in the position around the first of the year to start basically opportunity for a complete redesign. And obviously, we'll be trying to do that in a very cost-efficient way. But we're probably looking at a minimum of $180,000 an ambulance at that point.
Okay.
What was that number?
$180,000. Yes, sir. I had a similar reaction when I saw it.
What was that number?
180,000.
I got it. Hoping I couldn't hear
And that's
well.
and please don't hold me to that. That is a ballpark option. We really won't find out till we really get into the details, so.
Okay.
But 180 to 200,000 is a common number right now for purchase of new trucks, so.
Thank you.
All right, other questions? It looks like I've got 2 motions here as well. Do you agree with that, Scott?
Yes, yes, sir. The other one, I believe, is,
Motion for the budget amendment.
yes, sir, that is correct. The other one is for changing it from a financing situation to, I believe, using fund balance, and that's based on Donna's recommendations.
Okay. First motion, if we don't have any more questions, that I would need is a motion to approve the bid award to Select Custom Apparatuses for the 5 ambulance remounts.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Combs, there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? That motion carries. And I think the next item concerns the fact that in our budget process this year, we had agreed to possibly lease these rather than purchasing them over a 4 or 5 year period. And maybe we got a potential change in that direction. Is that what we're doing, Ms. Wood? You want to explain that to the board then? You would? Or Scott, did you want to do that? I'm sure you'd rather she do it. Okay.
In the commissioners approved for the fiscal year 20 budget to finance, or to look into financing the remounts over possibly 4 years. And so we budgeted $120,000, anticipating principal and interest for the first year. With the bids coming in at $429,590, considering how we ended fiscal year 19, and then also looking at what it would cost to finance. So we're looking at approximately $45,000 to $50,000 just for interest costs and things like that. We thought that it would be a good idea, instead of requesting to finance these, that we look at using fund balance, which we would recommend for the budget amendment. It would be $309,590 out of fund balance that we would appropriate towards the purchase of the remounts. And that would be the recommendation for the budget amendment.
So make sure, and I think I understand, make sure the board understands that it is originally in our budget approval, we had considered leasing this over a period of time instead of spending the money out of fund balance. Of course, when we were working on our budget, we weren't sure where our fund balance would end up. Sitting here today, you see that we have some fund balance left, even beyond what we projected we'd spend, that we didn't spend. I think it may have something to do with some money showing back up, possibly $800,000, and so actually got more in fund balance than what we had when we began the year. So we're, anytime, this board has always liked to pay as you go and not utilize borrowing when we didn't have to. And since we had those funds, I think Donna has come up with a good idea of let's doing it out of fund balance. But any questions of what we're doing here from board members? Sue's smiling, she must agree with us. All right, I would entertain a motion then to approve the budget amendment to purchase the remounts with county fund balance.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Richardson, that second that motion.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Thank you. Scott, go ahead back to office and work on that $185,000.
I'll do my best.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I've had a request to take a 8-minute break at this time, so we will take a short recess. All right, we'll start our meeting back. We're on agenda item number 11, the Governor's Highway Safety Program, 2-year resolution and budget amendment. I call on Donna Wood to make this presentation. Good morning again.
Good morning. So this item, there are 2 actions. It's the approval of a resolution and then a budget amendment associated with that. So just as background information, the Sheriff's Office received a 4-year grant beginning October 1st, 2018, ending September 30th, 2022. Each year of the grant, the Governor's Highway Safety Program requires the board to approve a local government resolution authorizing the federal funding contract. The Year 2 contract is for an award of $115,222, with $80,655, which is 70%, from the federal government, and $34,567, or 30%, as a local appropriation. And so I'm requesting that the commissioners approve the resolution which is attached, which is just indicating what the second year portion of the grant.
Any questions on this item? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval of the federal fund contract resolution.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Combs, second by Commissioner Wells. Any question on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries.
Okay. The second piece of this is for the budget amendment for the Governor's Highway Safety Program. And what I'm requesting is that since our year, the county government's year ends June 30th and federal government year ends September 30th, that we do an amendment for 9 months of the grant. And so that would be to allocate the $60,491 from the federal government for the 9 months of the grant receipt, and the expenditure of 8 is for $60,491, and the matching portion would come from the sheriff's office, which is already budgeted in this year's budget, so there's no request for additional funds for this grant award.
Any questions on that budget amendment? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Leggett, second by Commissioner Outlaw. Any questions on that motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well. Agenda item number 12 is a Homeland Security Grant Ordinance. Ms. Wood?
Okay, Nash County has been awarded $15,000 for the 2019 Homeland Security Grant Program by the North Carolina Department of Public Safety, Division of Emergency Management. This project involves the purchase of shelter trailers and shelter supplies, which would be cots and blankets. The project actually ends February of 2022. However, we are anticipated to purchase the shelter trailers and the items this year. The amendment, the grant project ordinance is attached for your approval.
Questions on this item? Do we have we not gotten one of these before?
We have. We generally get an award every year.
Okay.
And
Is this one that we share with other entities also when needed?
It is, but with us receiving the award, then we get to house the trailers here with Nash County, and then if another local government within our region needs to use the equipment, we'll let them, and we're not using it, they have access to it.
Okay. Any questions from commissioners? Mr. Lamb?
The shelter trailers this year are for large animals and horses, or do we never do that?
This actually is more for, I believe it's more for people.
Supplies?
Yeah, for housing, if we had to set up at a location, it would allow for people to use, not for animals.
Do you know where the status of getting have you heard anything from downstairs about, we were talking about getting a large trailer for horses and other large animals.
I would
You
have
don't
to
know?
check into
I'll
that for
check
you and
into it.
just.
Thank you.
I believe that application period comes a little late. I believe the application comes in December, if I remember correctly.
Okay, thank you.
I'll be involved.
Thank you.
Other questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, second by Commissioner Wells. Any questions on this motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. And item number 13, budget amendments. Ms. Wood?
Okay, with the following budget amendments are being presented for the board's consideration. The first item is with insurance proceeds. This budget amendment makes funding available from insurance proceeds received from claims to cover vehicle repairs in the Sheriff's Office, Emergency Medical Services, Environmental Health, and Department of Social Services. It's a total of $19,812. The next item is Department of Social Services. This budget amendment is to increase 100% non-capped federal funds for non-emergency Medicaid transportation client services. It's $2,721. The next item is with library funds. This budget amendment is to budget grant funding for Braswell Memorial Library from the North Carolina Department of Cultural Resources. The LSTA grant is from Federal Library Services and Technology Act. Nash County is just the pass-through agency. It's $400,000. The next item is with senior services. This budget amendment provides for the Senior Center General Purpose Grant allocated through the Upper Coastal Plain Area Agency. from the Department of Health and Human Services. The grant requires a 25% cash or in-kind local match, which will be met by resources already provided by the county and senior services. It's $10,574. And the final item is considered economic development. This budget amendment is to budget pass-through funding for a Nash County Building Reuse Program for LS Tractor or USA with funding from the North Carolina Department of Commerce, $180,000.
Okay. Any questions on either of those 5 budget amendments? Any reason why we can't approve them all at the same time?
No, that would be fine.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the 5 budget amendments as presented.
Move approval.
Moved by Commissioner Richardson, second by Commissioner Belfield. Any questions on the motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by like sign? Budget amendments stand approved. We are now moving to item number 14, which is board appointments. Call on Stacy at this time to make these presentations.
Good morning. The following appointments need to be considered. The first one's for the Tourism Development Authority, the TDA. I don't have any applicants for that.
Right. Mr. Belfield advised me over the weekend, he was working on that. He asked me to look some myself as well because there had to be a collector, and I think you didn't find one yet.
Yeah,
So, I've got,
I kind of almost, which I would say struck out on that.
okay, it's
On the
difficult,
tourism.
but I've got a new angle I'm gonna attempt to do. I found out we had a local entity, a great citizen for Nash County that owns a part of a hotel. I'm gonna see if I can get someone out of their administration to take care of it for us. I think would be a good member, so I'll try to have that available at the next meeting.
Okay.
Library,
And the next one is for the Brazel Memorial Library. We talked about this appointment last month. I provided the commissioners with a listing of the current individuals from Nash County that sit on that board and the commissioner districts that they serve in. We did receive actually 3 applications. In your packet, you have one for Elizabeth Overton, you have one for Ken Ripley Jr., and then this morning you have one for Deborah Battle.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to see us delay a decision on this board appointment at this time, so we've had a chance to study the one that we were given this morning. And since our computers, our iPads wouldn't work, I'd like to see us delay this till.
I have a request for delay. Anybody opposed to delaying this item to the next month?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Belfield.
I told the board in our last meeting that I would get a person to fill Ruth Smith's term out. And I brought one in this morning. Deborah Battle, you probably know her, Reverend Battle's daughter. I'm not daughter, wife, I'm sorry, spouse.
Yes, I do.
She has experience, library experience. She was a librarian in Northampton County High School for many years. She's worked in the Brazel Library when she was in high school, and I think she's a well-qualified person to replace Ruth Smith because she was also a librarian in the middle school, junior high, really, at the time when she was working. So I had told the board that, and no one disagreed.
Well, I understand, Mr. Belfield. Give me one second. Since I've got a item to table the thing, I can accept that, I'm told by the attorney, which I thought I could, without further discussion. So if no one is not going to jump up and down, I'm just going to take Mr. Combs' request and approve it to table this item to the next month. Hopefully, we can work on it during the month and get a consensus of the board. Seeing nobody jumping up and down at this time, we'll move on to the next item. Did you have any more?
No, that's all.
I think it's just fair request because we got this one this morning, Mr. Belfield. Our iPads haven't worked for us to look at what else we had, and I think it's an important appointment. So I will just table this item to the we can take care of it on the 18th, when we meet again, it'll be fine. We'll bring it up in 2 weeks. Do I actually need a vote to table it? Mr. Lamb, he indicated did. I didn't think I did. All right, we're now on, item number 15, which is our tax report, for informational purposes. Ms. Sumner, welcome back this month.
Thank you.
You're a smarter lady, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
As you have before you this morning, the monthly tax collectors report, and as you know, it is designed to keep the board current on the activities in the tax office, and it is for informational purposes only and does not require approval. It is recommended that you accept the report so that it be noted in the minutes, and I would be glad to, if you have any questions on it, answer any questions.
All right, any questions of this report? How are we doing at this point in time versus what we've been in prior years at this point in time? I know Mr. Lamb likes to tell us how good we're doing, but I'm not sure where we are.
So far, we're keeping up. We're keeping up. Yes, sir.
Matching what we've done in the previous year.
Yes, sir. We're just a little bit ahead.
Just a little bit ahead.
Except in our personal property, we got our state assessments a little later from the state.
Right.
So we're a little bit late getting those
Bills came
out.
out a little bit later this time
Yes,
than
sir.
what they had. Okay. Well, the big crunch comes at the week between Christmas and New Year's anyway.
Yes.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you. We'll go ahead and take tax refunds. While we're at this point, any showed up since the agenda was presented?
We do have 2 refunds that are on the agenda that need approval.
Okay. Let me get to that point.
My apologies.
What's that?
My apologies. That was an oversight.
Okay, no problem. You do have 2 tax refunds in your packet. Any questions on those? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the 2 refunds.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Richardson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bellfield. Any questions on the refunds? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed by like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I see now why it's so important for us to have our grandchildren spend time away from their iPads and telephones because you get so dependent on it that you can't operate without it working like it used to. I'm missing one button over here this morning. Thank you for bearing with us. We're now under commissioner comments. Any commissioners got any comments they'd like to make at this point in time? Seeing none, I have one item that I'm told I need to bring up at this point in time rather than closed session, which I'm going to say a little bit about it first, and it's concerning the school board and an item on their agenda tonight. As you recall, we discussed with the board a little while back that the school board wished to entertain using a project management firm to build a new school in the northern Nash area. That is a process by which Nash Rocky Mount Schools has never used before. Community college has not used before, nor has Nash County ever used it before. I've talked to the board about it a little bit individually, and we all of you agreed that it's probably not something that we would want to see done because of the added cost. And the school board did, I did at y'all's request, let the school board know, or let the chairman know, Mr. Lamb, that we did not really want to use that process because of the cost, and that the county wouldn't be in a position to use their funds that we had allotted, which is $10 million of taxpayers' money, $5 million of lottery funds, and then we've got a net $5 million grant, because the $10 million grant that you've heard many times that we were successful in getting, actually $5 million of that, or a little over $5 million, would actually be our own dollars that we would have received under the lottery funds. But the school system moved forward in an RFP to request for proposals to entertain proposals from firms like that and have it on their agenda for tonight to approve that. They asked Mr. Lamb and myself to meet with the superintendent on Friday, as well as the chairman of the school board, which we did. I reminded them again that this board didn't have an interest in participating in that, didn't think it was necessary, but they just still wanted to have us participate in it, as well as wanted to move forward with approving that entity tonight at a cost that is fairly significant, well over $500,000, actually over $600,000. And they asked me to come back to the board, ask the board as a group, did we want to participate in that funding? So that is my request this morning. I really didn't see the need for it, but just we're in a new area where our board and the school board is working together very well, much better than we have in times past. I want to continue that relationship as we build this school and as we move into the employment of a new superintendent. This board fully realizes that the school board is in charge of this project, but at the same time, we also realize that the Board of Commissioners has to approve the funding for this project. And that we have a limited budget, and it is our hope and intent to build it for the $20 million that is allotted for it. And we feel like that this would just be off to a start in a direction that wouldn't allow us to complete that project under the budget process, and we would prefer to use the process by which the school system has always used, which is employing an architect and then moving forward with the design and then building school, which is a design build process. Whereas they have a thought that they'd like to put a manager in front of that, another entity. So I am bringing it back to you as a group rather than individually, and asking you your comments on that. If anybody wants to ask any questions, I'll be glad to try to explain it to you, because that's a field that I'm pretty well versed in and can make any, answer any questions that you have. I think, Mr. Bellfield, did you have a comment, sir?
Well, it goes right back to what I was saying earlier. These projects, we have a small system, and I know the superintendent retired from a system that built a lot of schools every year, just about. I know, as I can recall, in the past 10 years. They would require somebody. We're talking about one school, and the price tag that I heard, and I believe you told me that.
I did tell you, based on the information we got Friday, which was $622,000. Very close to that.
We're heading on toward, it's above $500,000.
Yes, sir.
And do they have it? And I understand they don't, and they're expecting us to pay for it. And
The request was for us to pay for it, yes, sir.
And I just don't agree that that's a lot of money that could go into equipping the school.
Understood.
$600 and some $1,000. And they need to take a look at that. I don't support that.
All right, other comments?
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Outlaw?
if you look at the agenda, I was a little bit surprised when I saw it on the agenda, but there is actually an action item, as you referenced on the agenda, to approve funding of $622,000, a little over $622,000 for this project management team or group. And the agenda states that they will fund that through capital dollars that they've got. So I guess my question would be,
It doesn't sound to me like they're asking us to fund it. It sounds like, not directly anyway, if you look at the agenda, it says the fee for the provision of project management services not to exceed $622,429 anticipated to be paid from available capital program funds. So if that would actually be the case, then I would assume indirectly we would pay for it because they would not have the capital funds to fund other projects that are probably needed. Would that be a fair statement?
It was relayed in the meeting that the manager and I had that the request was for us to pay for it, that they had already obligated all the capital funds that they had in this year's budget to other projects. So I hear what you're saying. I hadn't looked at their agenda.
I'm just reading their
Right.
agenda. This is what's going to be put before them tonight.
Right, okay.
So I think that tonight, that when it's put before them, that they're probably going to approve it. And I know that you're going to probably go back and ask that they not do that. But if you look at the history, a question on the history for Nash County, Nash Rocky Mountain Public Schools, and serving as a member of the Nash Community College Board, I'm very familiar with the last three major building projects we had there, which were handled in a different way. And I believe, from what I understand about county projects, including the courthouse and other projects, that we have never handled it in this way.
That's correct.
And it is my understanding that the Nash Rocky Mountain Public School System has never handled it in this way.
I know they haven't since 1985.
Well, I know there have been 16 major projects in the school system since the late 90s, which included the construction of 4 new schools, and then you've got 12 projects that were additions or renovations, et cetera. New schools being Nash Central High School, Rocky Mountain High School, and there's a couple others, but
Winston Elementary.
yeah, and Red Oak Middle, I believe.
Middle, that's correct.
But what they've always done, and what we've done at the community college, and it seems to work fairly well, is you employ an architectural firm, and they manage the project with input from the receiver. And, I spoke a little bit to an individual that did this for a number of years, and that I've got some information on the primary responsibilities that that individual would have if they were working with this firm to manage this project, and I'll make that available to the board after the meeting. But I just think that if we give them the latitude to spend $622,000 for a firm that I understand is pretty much redundant with the architectural firm, then that would be money that we have really wasted. Am I seeing this wrong?
In my opinion, been in the industry for a long time, I feel the same way, Mr. Outlaw.
Okay.
I don't think, and if you talk to an architectural firm, you won't find one that sees the need for this particular entity as well, because I've contacted.
Well, they didn't just put all this together this week. And I know back, I think it was it October, that we discussed, letting them know how that we would like to have a seat at the table.
I called the chairman 2 days after the discussion with each individual board member about this item, and let him know that we didn't intend to pay for it and didn't think it was necessary.
So we communicate that, and then almost immediately, they go into a process whereby they put out RFPs, they identify 8 vendors, they get it down to 3, they pick the one they want from the 3, they've got it on the agenda tonight. So we're putting in a vast sum of money from the taxpayers on the project. We're not asking for control of the project, we're just asking for a seat at the table so we can provide input to be fiscally responsible to the people that elected us to serve as a commissioner. And it looks to me like what they've done is they've just moved forward without any consideration of that request. They've got it on the agenda tonight for approval. And it looks to me like they're going to approve it.
You got the agenda, that's what it appears like. Now, what I did tell the chairman that I would do is after today's meeting, I would call him and let him know how the board felt. And of course, what I'm asking the board to do is give me permission from the full board, as a group, in a group setting, that we still do not wish to employ this type firm in the process, and we will not be paying for it. The $622,000 is the request I need. Mr. Belfield?
You shared with me when in our conversation that they said they didn't have the money to pay for this.
They told us on Friday that they expected us to pay.
They didn't have the money. Now, according to Commissioner Outlaw, it's on their agenda that they can use their capital fund money. It goes back, to me, it's been a pattern there for years that they don't know what they have. They say they don't have, and then next thing you know, they come up and say, oh, well, we found this, we found a certain amount of money. And that bothers me.
Well, I'm gonna take the high side, and the sentence that Mr. Outlaw read, I think, could be construed to mean that they want to pay for it out of capital funds that they anticipate having, by this board agreeing to pay for it. But I'm not sure what that meant, because I did, of course, don't do their agenda, nor had I seen the agenda.
So if they anticipate having those funds and they're going to direct it to this project, then they must not be anticipating having any other capital needs where this money normally goes.
Mr. Lamb, help me out. I remember him saying they had already obligated all the capital money they had for this year to immediate needs.
Yeah, in this year's budget, y'all appropriated $1.394 million. $1.4 million for Category 1, 2, and 3 capital improvements, which is how the state categorizes them. They indicated that those funds had already been committed and that they would need additional funds from the commissioners. I can only assume that if they approve the agenda item, it would be subject to funding, but they're planning to get that money from the commissioners. They have not, because of the budget situation in Raleigh, they have not yet adopted a revised budget, which is usually done after the General Assembly recesses and they know how much money they're getting from the state. And so therefore they can, since they haven't adopted the revised budget, they can add to it at the time they adopt the revised budget. According to the statute that I read last week, once they adopt that budget, they cannot amend the budget for capital needs after that until the next year budget. But I don't know when they're going to adopt their revised budget. It could be next month. Yeah, they're anticipating funds from the county for that $622,000.
So do you see those funds being above and beyond what we typically allocate?
Yes.
For capital, which is what, like 1.2, something like that?
Just under 1.4.
So would you see them then requesting a little over 2 million?
Yes. Well,
We've already
an
given
additional 600,000.
Which would be a little over 2 million?
Yeah.
Right.
Total.
Well, I would be opposed to that, because we've got a history of building very fine buildings in Nash County, county government, Nash Community College, Nash Rocky Mount Public Schools, and to the best of my knowledge, we have never used a project management group to manage the project. We have always used the architect. And then you have representatives from the entity that is building the facility that do various functions, which I've got those identified here. But if we've been able to do this forever, it's not like Wake County where we're building 5 or 6 schools and we've got vast amounts of projects going on. It just seems to me like it's money that we could use for other purposes that are much more needed than just being redundant with an architect.
Other comments from commissioners?
Yes, I just have a concern about, they saying that they already have obligated their capital needs, whatever, okay. But if we were to fund this and then they run short later, we know what's gonna happen, they're gonna come back for us to fund those needs as they come forward, so I just have a problem with that, and I'm not comfortable with agreeing to do that, paying for it, and we have let them know that, so.
Okay. Any other comments?
Just a clarification
Yes,
thing,
sir.
as I understand it, if you're gonna build a building, you hire an architectural firm that charges a certain percent of whatever the contract's gonna be.
Yes, sir.
Is that architectural firm is in charge of not only the plans and letting out the bids and being at the bid openings, but they take a active role in construction from foundation up, making sure that, no offense, Robbie, but the contractor does what's in the specifications, what's supposed to be done, and everything like that, and is that the process that we've always followed?
That's the process.
So in
we've
other words, the
always followed.
architectural firm is acting as a project manager.
Well, there's two parts to
Am
an
I saying that
architectural
right?
contract, sure. You do the first part, you designed it, and then you get it out to bid and take bids. And then there's a part called contract administration. That's the part where the architect has a representative, and Mr. Outlaw and Ms. Wells' recent time, I happened to bump into this guy yesterday at Lowe's. Frankie Joyner did that for them, and I'm guessing performed very well. He's been doing it for many years. That worked for Oakley Collier, who did the work at the community college. So that's the way you do that, yes. And now you don't have to have the architect to do that, but they would still be, if you drop that out, you're only gonna save a small percentage of that fee, and it's not near enough to pay the additional firm to be involved in it. So that's the way we have always done it in the percentages we're talking about.
Okay, just for clarification's why I asked the question.
Sure.
Who's checking on,
Yes, sir.
Well, what we did at Nash Community College, and as a member of the Buildings and Grounds Committee, you're exactly correct, Frankie Joyner managed the project. And then at a pretty regular frequency, he had a timeline, a schedule, and everything that had to happen by such and such a date. And we had regular meetings, and they'd go over all that information, make us aware of any change amendments for cost and so forth. And all that information was provided to the school, and we had representatives dealing with that information. But Frankie Joyner did, in fact, manage that project. Very well, too.
Is the architectural firm also the one that comes to whoever's writing the check and say, this contractor's finished to a certain point, I'd approve him getting 10% draw or something like that? And
He takes the pay request each month and approves that.
I'm just
Sure.
filling out for myself that all the bases are covered.
Right. Well, when you built your building, did you not do it? I don't know how you did. I remember bidding on your job, didn't get it, but how did y'all do it?
We hired an architect to draw the plans like we wanted them, get them up to our specs. He gave us a book of specifications.
Right.
Of everything in the building, from the foundation and how much concrete and how big and how deep the slab was gonna be, to what kind of doorknobs we were gonna use and what kind of windows we were gonna put in. And the architect was in charge of making sure that was done, and the only other person on site was just me or the county
The county
president
inspector
going
on all
by and looking, and then the county inspectors inspecting all that stuff, so, but then the architect was the one that said, call the shots. If they did something that won't up the specifications, then they had to redo it. Luckily, we didn't have a lot of that kind of problem, but even to what kind of doorknobs we were gonna use was specified out, and there was no real questions.
Well, this here says that the information that I secured from an individual that has done this for many, many years and is still doing this today, indicated that the representative from the school system, which in this case, I guess, would be Shannon Davis with Dennis Fields or somebody like that, but he said that the individual would represent the owner or the school system at all job site meetings, would monitor the progress of the work and report the progress on a regular basis to the school board, with the assistance of the architect, prepare a program that defines what spaces are needed in the new facility. This is called programming. Ensure the program fits the number of students to be housed in the facility. Assist the architect with color selection and choices for finished materials such as flooring, walls, roofing, etc. Assist the architect with equipment selection for lighting fixtures, mechanical, plumbing, and electrical equipment. Monitoring the payments to the contractor to ensure compliance with the established budget. If not a part of the architectural contract, be responsible for ordering the furniture for the project. Coordinate the needs of other departments such as school nutrition with equipment specifications, and then coordinate the final move-in once the job is completed. That would be the primary responsibilities based, and there's some other things that are not as significant that the school representative would be responsible for, but the major responsibility would lie with the architect. And again, we've done this for the last 15 years or so with 16 projects, 4 new schools. We built a courthouse over here. We built 3 new buildings at the community college. I think we got a pretty good history. I don't know who the architect would be, but I can tell you we have an excellent history with Oakley College. So that's just my 2 cents on it. I would not support funding for a firm to come in and do what we know the architectural firm can and will do.
It seemed to me they're getting ahead, and they haven't even voted and decided what site they're gonna put the school on.
That's correct.
And that bothers me. I've been quite concerned about this project and the direction in which it's going. And I don't like it.
Thank you, Mr. Bellfield. Anyone else have any comment? Is there anyone opposed on this board to me letting the chairman know this afternoon that we have talked about this as a full board? We do not want to see the school board utilize this, even though they can if they want to, but this board will not be providing funds to pay for. Is everybody okay with that?
Could I just make one more comment back to what Ms. Richardson stated?
Sure.
If, in fact, they move forward with this and spend this money, and they have capital needs, roof, HVAC, whatever the need may be, then the onus is on this board, I believe, to cover that need. So
Capital
what I
fund
don't
for
want to
school
see
system
happen,
is always.
what I don't want to see happen, Mr. Chairman, is what we saw happen some years back, where you're diverting money that was intended for a particular purpose, at least this is what I think, and they divert it to another area and hold it for a need that they've got, while all those capital needs go unattended, and then we end up with a tremendous issue at many of our schools.
Okay. Well, I will state it as firm as I know how to state it when I make that phone call.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
do
sir.
you need a vote on this or just agreement?
I would feel better with a vote if the attorney would let me vote on it.
Certainly y'all can vote on it.
All right. The question is, if the board will allow the chairman to let the chairman of the school board know that we do not approve of the method of a project management, or do we intend to pay for it on the new school being built in the northern Nash area?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
I take that as a motion from Mr. Bellfield as stated. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Ms. Richardson. Is there any questions to the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by like sign? Motion carries, and I appreciate your help on this matter. All right, other commissioners have comments at this time? Seeing none, ask for the manager report, item number 18.
Okey-doke. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Apparently, November is Special Events Month. I think we've all gotten quite a few invitations
Amen.
for the next month, and I will just go through them briefly. First of all, I would say that we continue to try to get a date for the joint meeting with the school system. We normally have one in November and one in late April, early May. Janice has been coordinating that, but we have not been able to get a date yet.
Where do we stand on that, Janet? Waiting on me, I think. Okay. I'll tell you something today. Excuse me, sir.
That's all right. We are having a second meeting this month scheduled for November the 18th at 1:30. I know we've changed that time several times, so I just wanted everybody to know that, and the press and the public to know that it will be starting at 1:30, according to our earlier schedule and date and time for the second meeting each month. The Twin County Hall of Fame is this Thursday at the Rocky Mount Event Center. The Beans and Brews event at the mill, at the Rocky Mount Mill, in support of Meals on Wheels, will also be on November the 7th.
Yeah.
The Agriculture Center is hosting an open house Tuesday, November 19th, from 2 to 5, I guess to show off their new building, or newly renovated building. The Upper Coastal Plains COG will have its annual meeting on November the 19th. I believe that's also at the Event Center. Among the guests will be Secretary of Commerce Tony Copeland and Community College President Peter Hans. The Farm City Breakfast is Tuesday, November the 26th at the Farmers Market. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Everybody get all of that? I think we've had emails on all of it. All right, if there's no other items in open session, I'd entertain a motion for a closed session for an update on economic development and matters of attorney-client privilege and one personnel item.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Commissioner Outlaw, second by Commissioner Bellfield. Any questions on that motion? I will ask for this bit of the press, Mr. Manager, do we anticipate any action to be taken after the closed session?
I don't believe so.
Mr. Attorney? Do not. I would just say, if, for the benefit of the press, I don't think I see anything either, but if we should, staff be glad to contact you immediately when we adjourn. All in favor of the motion to go into closed session, say aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Stand adjourned in open session, moved into closed session, or recessed in open session and moved into closed. Thank you. Morning.